Sean Payton talked earlier this week on a media run with Good Morning Football, I do believe. I am not 100% certain. That they were going to draft Patrick Mahomes. Sean Payton said the Saints were going to draft Patrick Mahomes. They had pick number 11. The Chiefs had pick number 10, 12. Mm-hmm. They had pick 12. Chiefs had pick number 11. The thing about it is the Chiefs have Alex Smith, who, if you do recall, had like an MVP-like season the year after Patrick Mahomes was drafted. So there's no thought that the Saints thought, you know what, the Chiefs are going to take a quarterback. How you doing? Keep it moving. And then all of a sudden, Andy Reid and Veach and the boys say, we're going to draft this quarterback, even though we got Alex Smith, and the Saints move forward in a different direction. Sean Payton said he was the best-looking prospect he's seen at quarterback ever, which, by the way, is a nice thing to say now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Nice thing to say now.
He knew, though.
Listen, I think he did. All right, I would assume he did. He's a great coach, but it is a great thing to have that story come out now, especially with how he's done, because there's been a lot of quarterbacks that have been drafted in pick 11, pick 12, who have not been fantastic or even higher than that. But Sean Payton said that Patrick Mahomes is the best college quarterback he has ever evaluated. Jeez. Could you imagine he goes to the Saints? They force out Drew Brees, I'd assume. Now, granted, Alex Smith started for an entire season except for the last game in which they were already in the playoffs, already had home field. No, maybe I forget if they had home field or not. But Patrick Mahomes played against the Denver Broncos in Denver, and it was that game, I've been told, that everybody in Kansas City said, we don't even care if Alex Smith wins the MVP or not. He's going to be moving. He goes to Washington. Everybody on earth questioned that move from Andy Reid. What are you doing, Andy? Because at that point, remember, Andy hadn't won a Super Bowl. The question was, can Andy win a Super Bowl? Now he's pushing a guy out that almost won a goddamn MVP, sending him out of town. It's like, Andy, what are you doing? You had a guy. Little did we all know outside of that room that they had the guy, Patrick Mahomes. What do? Do you have Drew Brees just ride it out? Is this a Brett Favre, Aaron Rodgers situation? Because Drew Brees, we've seen, he hasn't even officially retired right now. When Jay Glazer came out right before the last game and said, this will be his last game or whatever, but Drew said, I'm still taking time to think about it. I guess if Patrick Mahomes is there, is he doing this is your team? No. Speech to him years ago, or is that that would have been a lot of fun to kind of watch play out there. That changes a lot of storylines in the NFL's history if that happens, and here we are talking about it because there ain't shit else to talk about.
It's wild because the year that Mahomes was drafted, the Saints went 11-5, and that was either, what was first, Minneapolis or the PI?
Minneapolis.
So that was Minneapolis Miracle, and then the next year they were 13-2, and they had the PI in the NFC Championship, right? So I mean, it would have been tough to sit Drew down after going to those games. Think
about what we've got to witness with this Chiefs team. The moments we've got to witness. Would have never had it. Would have been down there sitting behind Drew Brees.
Yeah.
You don't think they would have eventually been like, hey, Mahomes is better. We can get a
Mike
lot
Thomas
for Drew
came
Brees.
back and played because he knew this was potentially Drew Brees' last year.
Yeah. And if they would have started Jimmy Winston, they may be playing in the Super Bowl still.
That's right.
Wow. We're not talking about whether or not the decision would have been right. I just think Drew Brees down there is, because the Super Bowl he won down there and the yards he's put up, I think the way Drew Brees is heralded in New Orleans and in the organization is rather high, I think. I think it is very, very, very high. I don't think anybody's forcing him out. Remember, Cameron Jordan did an interview last year whenever Drew Brees was potentially going to retire, and Cameron Jordan said, I'm playing for a team that has Drew Brees as quarterback. And you're like, well, he's thinking about retiring. We're not even thinking about a team without Drew Brees or whatever. I think that's how they view it. If Patrick Mahomes is doing what he probably did in Kansas City in practice down there in New Orleans, though, how does that become? Does Drew force him out, I wonder, Then you got to think about that entire scene.
Yeah.
Jimmy G situation. Like, what happens? That would have been wild. Would have been awesome. We weren't a show yet, I don't think, so happy it didn't happen. Everybody else kind of got to go after it, but that would be crazy in the annals of the NFL history.
I mean, Pat probably would have eventually started because in practice you could have seen that Pat could throw it farther than Drew with his left hand. So, it probably would have been hard for Sean to look at that every day and not do something.
There was a guy, he came in, he was just like a camp leg for like a day or something. And it felt like he was talking shit. I thought he was disrespecting Vinatieri.
Oh.
Like, I don't know how, he didn't really, I don't think Vinatieri would ever say that he did either. But it just felt like something, I didn't like the vibe.
Snide.
So I started kicking lefty further than the guy. I was an asshole. He did beat me inevitably, but I was pushing, with my wrong foot. And I felt like a bit of an asshole. But that guy, I didn't think he was cool enough. That we got along with all the guys that came in. Everybody that came in, we got along with. We literally loved when guys would come in because they were helping us out. This one guy, though, it felt like he was a little bit. It feels like you're a little bit too. You think you're here to compete with us? It feels like you think you're here to compete with Vinatieri. Like, all right, let me just tell you, Vinny, I'm the punter, and I would like to show you that you're not competing with Vinny. Like, you're potentially in that whole thing. That's the only time that's ever happened. But imagine if Patty Mahomes did start doing that to Drew Brees in practice. Start throwing just lefty, and then Drew's balls are just falling out.
Brees enters free agency. He might have been the quarterback for the Colts last year, you know?
Oh, my God.
Yeah.